Welcome to Inspired Startups, covering the second series of the Hardware Hackathon here, co-hosted by DCU Innovation Centre and PCH, also in partnership with the Web Summit and National College of Art and Design. I'm lucky enough today to have the Director of EU Workshop TechShop, Paul Duggan, with us today for a few questions. Welcome, Paul. Can you tell us a bit about TechShop, the makers community and your practices?
So TechShop is basically what we would just term as an open access makerspace, typically 17 to 20,000 square feet buildings, and it operates as a gym type model. So effectively, rather than using weights or running machines, essentially you can use any tool you want, and we can have tools from sewing machines through plastic, wood, metal, electronics. Everything you need to make a prototype you'll find in TechShop.
Great. I know TechShop started in the US and now is expanding throughout the world. What are the biggest challenges and new opportunities that this brings to TechShop?
So the US model was basically created focused around makers. So individuals who would just walk in off the street and want to make things. That's very much the tradition in the US. It's part of the pioneer culture. That's where it really grew out of. In Europe and around the rest of the world, you don't have makers in that sort of same grouping. People make things with their hands. They're creative, but they're not usually going out and doing things. That they have sheds. Mm-hmm. They work in small craft groups, but they're not used to using a facility like that. So we're adapting the model as we go around the rest of the world to look at the blend that we have already in the US, where we're working with academic organizations, so universities, foundations, and enterprise customers. So that's the sort of model that we're bringing to the rest of the world. Okay, great.
Just you touched on the members of TechShop. Would there be like a general any insights into what a member profile of TechShop might be, or what range of persons would be interested in TechShop?
So part of the whole idea of having TechShop as a membership-based model is that we really like to see ourselves as a social enterprise. One of the strongest things we're trying to do is effectively drive down the access cost to the facility. So what we've been able to do is in Europe the price point will be €125 per member per month, and what that would mean is that you can actually access the facility 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, all month long, for one flat fee. So that's the business model, and that's how we're trying to drive the access. What we're looking to attract is people in companies, organizations who effectively have an existing R&D component, they have an innovation component, but what they want to be really able to do is effectively do things rapidly. Too many of the systems within companies are long-term. They're programmed, they're difficult. You and I have a cup of coffee this morning, we want to do something. There is nowhere to go at the moment. That's one of the gaps that TechShop fills.
Okay, I can definitely see a market for it there, and the business model that you're trying to build, and why you're actually here this weekend at the Hardware Hackathon. Maybe the Hardware Hackathon is kind of like a permanent version of what TechShop is about. Would you agree with that in a way?
Totally so, and the great thing about the hackathon is that there's a time component to it. So you've got to start, you've got to finish, you've got to get it done in between. What TechShop is allowing people to do is effectively, access tools that they really never had available to them, or only available with great difficulty. So the ability, you think of a project, you want to go in, make something, that's what TechShop brings you. And effectively the fact that you can do, no matter what the prototype you're trying to build, you can effectively do everything in TechShop, so it becomes a one-stop shop for prototyping for innovation.
So what advice would you give to startups who want to bring their idea to life within this ecosystem?
I think one of the challenges, it's the same in many businesses, from an entrepreneurial perspective, what am I trying to do? What's the product? What's the service? And, I think it's also quite critical to work out, is what I'm trying to do, has it been invented already, or how am I actually going to improve on what's out there already? Mm-hmm. So, I think, the Internet of Things, is a great opportunity for people to reimagine products, reimagine services, and the technology that's now available is so much easier to use. It's so much more accessible that people can really imagine new concepts and ideas in ways that even 5 years ago, 3 years ago weren't possible.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Internet of Things that you just mentioned, but what other factors do you think has spawned this new renewed interest in hardware?
I think the real fun thing that people are doing is getting back to making things with their hands. In the past, people have been disintermediated from the machines. If we look back 30, 40 years ago, you had to be highly skilled to operate a piece of equipment. This was the whole function of the apprenticeship model, and it took a long period of time to become very proficient with equipment. Today, that's not a problem. You simply design something in software with these CNC, these computer numerically controlled machines. You can take the design, take the model off the computer, plug it into the machine, and essentially the machine will drive it for you. So that whole fear factor that people had previously is largely dissipated, and people are now much better and much more easily able to focus on their ideas, and that's, I think, that's the significant change.
And I suppose it's also engineers that might have found themselves unemployed of late, and then they might have returned to the garage with these new tools and easy, accessible facilities to be inventive.
Yeah, absolutely, that's it. I mean, it starts from people who finish their university courses. They've had access during that time to great facilities, great capabilities, and then suddenly they've graduated and they're locked out of these things entirely. So TechShop absolutely serves a component there as well. And what we also see in a lot of the usages of the facilities are people coming to us after work, with this idea in their mind. It may be just something for the home, or it could be this great new big business idea. Sure. So that's again a part that we really help facilitate.
Great. So I know you plan to expand now in Europe. Do you have a rough estimation of the amount of cities you hope to set TechShop up in, and also in Ireland? Where do you hope to set up?
So let's look at the Irish context first of all. So Dublin is our ambition. Being Irish, I really want to have one of the first ones internationally established in Dublin, and I think we're well on our way to making that goal happen. The scale of what we operate, we need about 1,000 members per location. Okay. That really means that you need a city the size of Dublin and the surrounding areas to grow that sort of numbers. I'm from Cork originally. Cork unfortunately wouldn't support it, but maybe a cluster of Cork, Limerick and Waterford potentially can do that. On the broader basis, we're doing many locations around Europe. So Germany will be Munich, Berlin, Aachen. We will have facilities in Paris, Madrid, London. Probably in total, our estimation is about 15 locations within the next 2 to 3 years. And then there's a broader world basis as well, so Brazil, Australia, South Africa, and into Asia as well. A lot of those are currently in development. Is
there any one location in Europe that's kind of already out at the forefront of the TechShop scene, or you can see it envisaging happening?
Munich is now built. We'll take possession of the building in December, and we will be operational there in April. That'll be the first non-US location that will be in operation.
And with regards to setting up TechShop in Dublin, what would be the economic impact of adding a TechShop here in the city?
The really interesting thing, and we've only recently got the data in terms of all of this, is that there's a significant job impact in terms of TechShop coming into a location. It's jobs in a variety of ways. It's jobs at the service level, so the local coffee shops, restaurants, those sort of areas, but also the higher end as well. People who are accountants, lawyers, IP attorneys. they're feeding into the ecosystem that we create. And on average, we think that over a 5-year period, this is some of the data we've seen in our locations in San Francisco, elsewhere. We think that there's probably the potential to create about 650 jobs directly out of TechShop coming here to Dublin. So that's direct jobs, and then a much more substantial, we think possibly up to about €1 billion of economic development activity surrounding that, and that's largely focused on the companies that will incubate themselves coming out of the Dublin facility.
And have you picked a location in Dublin yet, or are you trying to partner with any bodies in particular?
We've partnered with Dublin City University, and we're going to locate on the Innovation Campus. We think it's a tremendous location for us to be based in. Decent access. It's the campus idea of what's here is superb, and we can again really become the sweet spot for the innovation here, providing services to multiple companies and providing a meeting place where the ideas will come and be nurtured across all those different companies.
And of course, creating interesting jobs in Dublin. Have you already have new partnerships with industries that have contacted you already, or is that something in the pipeline?
The model that we build is effectively a partnership between industry and the academic sector.
Okay.
So we have lots of large multinationals who use the facility, but also then smaller SMEs and individuals. Okay. So that kind of melting pot provides a lot of development coming through. So again, going back to the economic data, we've seen companies, small companies starting out of TechShop. For example, Square, which is the biggest and most public one coming out of it. Square was developed about 3 years ago. It's now got an 8 billion market valuation. So I think that sort of thing is absolutely possible here in Dublin, and it's really weighted in on the ideas that people have and the creative capabilities.
Yeah, I can really see bridging the gap in multinationals that need to nearly outsource a training facility to somebody like TechShop to get them creative again in their own industry.
Yeah, I think one of the big challenges that companies have today, particularly the large companies, is employee retention.
Sure.
They hire the best and the brightest of people, but when they bring them into the company, they basically say, well, this is the box that we'd like you to stay in. And what companies find then is a challenge that people say, okay, I'm not fulfilled. I have greater skills and greater capabilities. So what the companies are now responding is by effectively saying, okay, well, look, we have membership of TechShop. Why don't you take 10% of your time? Why don't you go there, work on your own ideas? Hopefully there'll be something that can benefit the company. And essentially that's one of the ways that it operates. It helps the employee in terms of nurturing their own creative ability, and it also shows that the employer is a responsible employer who's nurturing the skill that they rightly identified at the very beginning.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've got some great insights into TechShop there, and thanks, Paul, for taking time out to talk to us today from the Hardware Hackathon. Have you seen anything interesting at the Hardware Hackathon today?
I'm now going to go out and have a look, and I want to hear the judging on the categories.
Great. Well, Paul from TechShop, thanks very much for Inspired Startups Talk.
Good. Thank you.